My name is Charlie, and I am Head of Sales and Partnerships for EMEA and APAC. And I'm very excited to be here with you today to discuss this amazing topic. Today's session is called Using AI with Confidence and Control. So it's focused on how modern teams train faster, and our wording is very deliberate there. I think, as you all know, over the last few years, AI has moved incredibly fast, and many organizations, particularly those in strict or regulated environments, are trying to catch up. And the real question isn't sort of, can we use AI? Because I think everybody is. It's more focused on how do we use AI in a way that feels responsible, trusted, and genuinely useful. So this session isn't a demo. You'll be seeing no product demos today. So apologies if that's what you came along for. You're welcome to reach out to us afterwards for a product demo. But it's a really practical conversation about how real organizations are using AI role play to train and coach their people more effectively, whilst also, staying firmly in control of data and content and finding success. So today we're going to be talking about what first sparked an interest in AI roleplay for our amazing speakers, where hesitation or complexity showed up, what changed once their teams experienced AI roleplay in practice, how organizations are scaling and training without losing the amazing quality of the training that they have today, and how AI is reshaping the role of L&D itself. So let's meet our panelists. I'm joined by two organizations using AI roleplay in very different but very equally demanding environments. So from Volksbank Academy, we're joined by Jonas Hundorf, who is Head of Digital Learning. Jonas supports conversation training across Cooperative Banking Group in Austria. So he works really closely with sales, advisory and compliance teams. So welcome, Jonas.
Thank you.
And then from Vitality UK, we're joined by Paul Webb. Paul is a learning and development consultant, and he focuses on learning and development across sales. And he has a strong emphasis on consultation skills, continuous practice, and maintaining performance standards as their experience levels change. So thank you both so much for being here and being open about your experiences today. Before we begin, I think let's do a quick clarification on what we mean by AI roleplay. So really, AI roleplay, it gives people a chance to practice real conversations using natural language. Trainees respond in the moment, build confidence through repetition. You'll often hear us saying it helps to develop the muscle memory required for real world situations. And the scenarios obviously are based on your business content. So customers, partners, also internal conversations. So some of those difficult conversations to have internally. And the AI adapts to different personality types, different levels of difficulty, and it really allows your teams to practice what actually matters safely and repeatedly. Paul, Jonas, tell me first about your organization, your role, and how you're using Second Nature currently. So Jonas, let's come to you first.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Charlie. So my name is Jonas Höndorf. I'm located in the beautiful city of Vienna, and I work for Volksbank Academy. Volksbank Academy is the central learning and development hub for the Austrian banking group called Volksbank. It's actually quite a renowned brand in Germany and Austria. We do service 9 different banks and provide their learning portfolio. And in my team, I do have both product managers and learning designers. And together, we are kind of a multidisciplinary team that provide high quality and sometimes very complex learning experiences for the banking group. And what we focus on with Second Nature is mainly sales training, compliance training, and leadership training. And I'm happy to share my experiences throughout the webinar.
Amazing. Thanks, Jonas. And myself and colleagues had a chance to visit you recently. So thank you very much for hosting us in beautiful Austria. I'm always very glad to see you face to face and lovely to have you here today. So Paul, over to you. You're just down the road from me, which is excellent. Tell me a little bit about Vitality, about your role and how you're using Second Nature today.
Hi, Charlie. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. So, yes, I work for Vitality. We are a life and health insurance company, but we are also known for shaking up the insurance market in the UK. So, the brand was launched about 10 years ago. So, we don't just offer, comprehensive insurance products. We like to do things differently. So, our innovation is other people's complexity, and that's part of our, I guess, remit. So basically, we're known for our incentivized behavioral program because our purpose alongside our products is to make people healthier and enhance and protect their lives. And so we do this through this incentivized behavior change program, which has been very, very successful. So we've got approximately 2 million customers in the UK. We've also kind of partnered up with various other insurance and finance companies around the world who use that incentivized element with their products as well. So we actually cover about 44 million users across the world with that. So
Yeah.
very established now. But I predominantly just purely focus on the UK market. Sometimes we get a little bit confused because of this dog. We do not do pet insurance. That is our
Amazing.
mascot, Stanley. Okay, who's very famous here in the UK. In terms of myself, so yeah, I'm a learning and development consultant. I've been here for 4 years. So I'm part of a team of about 4 or 5 learning and development consultants, and basically we focus on those salespeople within our business who actually work with financial advisors who recommend insurance products. So it's actually quite a complicated ecosystem that we work within.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, quite a lot of compliance and regulation.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we're working on, the inductions, bringing in new people, as well as the ongoing kind of assessment of our current staff and ensuring that they're still competent at what they do. So yeah, that's a little bit about my business, a little bit about I guess the salespeople that we support. And yeah, you're looking at approximately in the franchise world, because we actually have a franchise distribution channel that we support. We've got about 120 salespeople there, and then across some other channels as well, you're looking at another 20, 30. So I guess our team is supporting at any one time approximately 140, 150 salespeople, and so
Right.
that's predominantly using second nature at the moment with the induction process, but we are starting to find little ad hoc projects that we can start to use it for across other areas. So that's a little bit about me and yeah, what we're doing.
Wonderful. That's great, Paul. Okay, so while we're with you, let's start with the first question with you, and let's look a little bit about your starting point and your journey. So to begin, could you share what first drew you to AI role play? Really, the key challenge that you were trying to solve at the time, and I think you've touched upon that a little bit, and what challenges you were looking to solve.
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me elaborate a little bit. As you can imagine, a modern bank has various training needs. The role of a customer advisor in a bank is both critical and complex, and it's not getting easier. So with
Yeah.
the regulatory demands and digital transformation, and then also you want to be a great customer advisor to your customers, because that's eventually what matters. So this is a huge part of the environment that we operate in. And our goal is obviously to provide the best learning initiatives possible. And we all know that a training initiative must be as close to reality to have maximum impact and prepare for real situations.
Sure.
So the gold standard was and probably still is in-person, like in classroom sales training, instructor-led. And this is what we have done for years. And this is what we're still committed to and what we're still offering. So Second Nature didn't got rid of this. The reason why this is the gold standard is that it's not just about transferring information, but teaching skills and letting participants practice what they learned, giving them time, sharing experiences, talking about what they have learned, and sometimes even receiving feedback.
Yes.
And yeah, I would assume that in most contexts today, professionals need to be able to apply information, to adapt to an opposite other, and to do that in a manner where they feel comfortable and relaxed, and to go even further, to enjoy it, to have fun while doing it, because then they can bring in their their special individual sauce and really convince customers for their organization, for their products. So to practice this repeatedly and getting evaluated and providing high quality feedback is unfortunately almost impossible for the large amount of people that we need to train, which is in total, like the total number of employees of the Volksbanking Group is 3,200 and 1,800 sales representatives or customer advisors. So unfortunately, this high benchmark is not scalable, and it's only for a small group of people every few years, which is very unfortunate and very unsatisfactory for me. So the question was how to simulate this and how to achieve this high benchmark of training quality in an online environment, and where you need to adapt to the opposite other, where you need to be able to apply information, and where you are able to being evaluated and to receive individual feedback. And without AI, this was unthinkable. Like, no need to even discuss it, because like what technology would be able to do that? But with the dawn of ChatGPT, I knew it was achievable. And I was just waiting for a provider that was able to do it. And actually, before I found Second Nature, I tried to do it myself, but I failed. And then I was very happy to find someone who figured it out. And now I'm very happy that we have actually solved it. So we're able to provide those learning experiences, and this drove me to Second Nature. This drove me to AI roleplay.
Amazing. Thank you, Jonas. Paul, were your kind of experiences similar?
Yeah, definitely some similar points there. I think boiling it down to the one that I guess is most prominent is we're training very kind of quite complex consultation skills with financial advisors, and so we also need to get people in person at times. We're supporting with the onboarding of salespeople right across the UK, because we've got franchises across the UK. But we do see a need for bringing them into the London offices or various offices to really ensure that we can get across, I guess, the importance and what good consultation skills looks like with these financial advisors. But at the same time, people don't want to be, they're traveling from all over the place. They don't want to stay in London for necessarily too long than they have to. And we want to be able to hire people that have commitments at home, etc., stuff like that. We want to be able to, have quite a flexible induction process and when it starts and things. So we have all these kind of, things that are stretching us, in the office, but also remote working, joining at different times, etc. It's even with a smaller number of consultants, it's a very difficult thing to try and cater for these individuals. And then the next thing is then the resource. The best way still to develop these skills is through role play, practice, repetition. Now some people would say a lot of the younger generations nowadays don't necessarily feel comfortable with some of the old school techniques that we maybe are used to back in the day, and I think that some of that is a little bit fair. But definitely the resource to be able to do this at scale, we just don't have that. And it's all nice to say, well, let's upskill the managers and they can do it, but we're losing oversight on that. Also, we don't know the quality of what's happening, and we want to be able to do it in the office, but we want them to be able to access it at home as well. So you've got all these competing things, which unfortunately lead to you either not doing role plays, which is the best way for them to be able to learn these consultation skills, or even if you are doing them, you're not doing them to a great quality level. So that's what has drawn my head to technology in the past, and that has what drawn my head to, I guess, AI and AI role play technologies right now, is to think, okay, how can we best find a solution for those challenges?
Absolutely. And we hear that all the time. Okay, so thinking about early questions, sort of hesitation and the internal reality, I'll come to you first, Paul. So when AI role play was first introduced internally, What questions and concerns came up? So, at that point, were you focused on the compliance of using AI, on, the stakeholders or the teams themselves, kind of really embracing this kind of technology?
I think it's worth all just mentioning, even within our team, and you can imagine, you can sit around the dinner table right now with your family members and probably have quite heated conversations about AI at the moment, you know?
Yes.
So I think actually reflecting, one thing I thought about this morning was also immediately within our team, because we had probably one individual who was at a stage mentally of being quite cautious about it. So, there are those conversations that need to happen first of all. I'm glad to say once they actually saw it up and running, they were like, "Oh, this is really good." Um, so there's that. There are those immediate people. You are the ones deciding to bring in this technology, and obviously, everything that's in the press and the news at the moment make it seem like it's going to be, a terrible thing for the planet.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's obviously compliance. Compliance are cautious, rightly cautious at this time about how we're going to use it. You know, ethically, for example, morally, what's it going to draw upon, etc. So I'll talk about we kind of circumnavigated that for the time being, but we're kind of building up some proof to give them confidence at the moment to use it more. But I'd say it's actually the individuals mainly. Anyone who has to use it for the first time kind of is a bit like, oh, they get nervous, So that's probably where most of the kind of initial concern comes from, are the people that are like, oh, crikey, I'm the one who's got to use this.
Yeah.
But actually, very quickly, most people are like, "Oh, actually, no, that was better than I expected."
Yeah.
So realistically, that's probably the three main areas. We're quite entrepreneurial here still. Even though we're a large corporate insurance company, I'm quite lucky because Vitality has still got a strong entrepreneurial spirit. So in terms of adoption AI, we've got that backing behind us. So I'm quite lucky, and I appreciate maybe not lots of other businesses have got that. But yeah, there's still those concerns there.
Yeah, and we hear that echoed across lots of customers that we work with, how, before people jump in, they feel very hesitant. I think because role play in itself feels like something you're very nervous of, because your previous experiences sat in front of a manager or a colleague trying to prove yourself. But once you jump in, actually, it's enjoyable, and you sort of forget that it's an AI environment. Jonas, what would you say, kind of on the same topics?
Well, the idea of AI roleplay was super easy to sell, and it's still super easy because it just sounds great and it actually does work. So I was very self-confident in selling it and in communicating about it.
Great.
And it was amazing because almost everyone, basically everyone, was very curious and open-minded. They saw the use cases and they were eager to see it in action and try it out for themselves. And I picked a few important people in the company and showed them in person. So this was kind of like a test balloon to see the reaction and if they were able to actually use it. And that was super. That was super easy, and it all worked out. Eventually, the subject matter experts and trainer, they wanted to know our intent. So if we were substituting classroom training with AI, or if AI would be an addition. And obviously the narrative is, and this is very important, it's not substituting anyone away, but it's an addition to still relevant in classroom instructor-led training. Well, with compliance, it's a whole another story, because they were prepared. They had their requirement sheets, not just compliance, but also data governance and legal and many other departments. So I was kind of in the middle of that and transferred Excel sheets from them to Second Nature, and hence we addressed their concerns. So there were dozens and dozens of questions, which all have been answered satisfactorily. If not, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Great.
Well, then there was like my supervisor, who is the CEO of the Volksbank Academy. She wanted to know about the reception from pilot users, because she wanted to see if this is something that the company wants and appreciates. She also wanted to know how much it would cost, if this is a realistic business case for us. My team wanted to know how much additional work adopting a tool such as Second Nature would mean for us and who would be responsible. So there was also a discussion about the role internally. HR was heavily involved. They were very important because they were kind of representing the employees in their different banks, because we as the central unit, we do work very closely with HR to provide sometimes even individual learning experiences for specific banks. So they told us, basically what the sales leaders and the sales representatives in their branches needed. At first, they were a little bit skeptical if this tool is for everyone, especially more senior people, because adopting a super innovative technology that basically nobody has tried before, well, obviously some people are hesitant, but it all worked out fine. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's grow on that a little bit. At what point did it shift from this is really interesting to it actually works? Was there a specific moment from a particular team, that stood out, a reaction to the platform?
We started with a pilot group in July 2024 with 30 people. So we picked 3 people from every bank. And the reaction was immediately overwhelmingly positive. I remember one branch manager invited all his junior colleagues who were in other sales trainings at the academy to participate in the pilot and to use Second Nature extensively. And we only had scenarios that I have created throughout 2 weeks, and they still used it in order to prepare for real conversations. And it was just even a pilot phase. So this was something that really shaped the narrative, because we had so many small positive stories to tell, which was super amazing. And then I knew, well, it's difficult to stop that train now.
Which is great.
So it's super great, and it's not seen very often. So basically, when I started the pilot phase, I was already thinking about when to launch and to what audience to launch and what courses to launch. What then followed were presentations to leaders and even to top management. And it's not very often that the learning and development department gets time with top management in a large banking group. So this was also super cool for me personally. They were also hooked very, very quickly. And I think three things were very important, like the immersiveness of the scenarios, because they felt real. You do not have an avatar that does show emotion in their face, but that's not important because the immersiveness comes from the social interaction, which is done by voice. This is enough for the immersiveness. Then the individual feedback, that is like that's the tip of the iceberg, because the individual feedback is both well designed and actually super useful. It actually differentiates between you doing a good job, a mediocre job, a shitty job, or an excellent job. And it does tell you, and that's super useful. And after that, we showed them to what degree they can fine-tune the requirements for the feedback. So they can fine-tune the scenario and basically build the requirements. And those 3 things, that solve them.
Great. I love that. And I think, like you say, it's the fine-tuning per a particular team, a particular use case, to make sure that they get the best value out of that. So yeah, it's great to hear that that's what you're doing. Paul, tell me a little bit about, what for you, was there a certain moment that, was it the data and analysis? Kind of what was it that, okay, this really works and it's something that we'll be using, a lot?
Yeah, I think there was the initial pilot group, and we used it in the very early sort of sales fundamentals, and very much was quite careful and broke it down just to kind of have individual role plays for quite small segments, quite small sets of skills. So introductions and questioning, and then stop, objection handling, and then stop, closing, and then stop. Or so we weren't initially confident to kind of say, oh, give it a whole 25-minute consultative meeting with a financial advisor. But from that initial pilot group, the second they either walk back in the room or the second that they log back on, to the virtual invite, and some people were smiling, they were sharing stories, etc. So I think that was a key moment, naturally, because you're like, okay, phew,
Yeah.
because it's obviously when you design it as an L&D person and then do it, it's, you don't know whether it's the same experience as someone who's just getting it
Yeah.
raw. So that
Yeah.
was probably the first moment where we said excellent, and then that gave us then the confidence to push it in terms of, okay, let's just feed it a much more open conversation about one of our products, and that was then received very well as well, and that's created a template for us to use. And I'm saying this as someone who has literally just done a 30-minute role play on one of our products with it this morning, because I'm observing some training that I've been told in the future I need to, sort of support with. So that was a key moment there as well, to see, okay, it can handle, these, more long form, quite complex consultative meetings with financial advisors as well. So I guess it's those sort of like two key moments have been important for us in terms of giving us confidence and pushing it more and putting it in front of more people based on more things that are required to be trained in our business.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's great to hear that you're using it kind of in both those cases. I agree with you that I think folks are sometimes a little bit hesitant in, can it really handle a real world, like you say, 30-minute in-depth conversation. I've tested it too, obviously, and love that you're using it in that way. Okay, so focusing on that kind of trust regulation and staying in control. You both operate in environments where trust really matters. So what helped reassure your stakeholders that AI role play could be used responsibly and safely? And I know we've sort of touched upon this a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot of documentation that goes, back and forth in these exchanges. But was there something specific that really helped to reassure folks? I
Can I
think,
take this first?
yeah, go for it.
Well, trust doesn't go very far in Europe when personal data is on the table. So
Yeah.
we kind of skip the trust part, and we came right to requirement sheets. And as I said, compliance, IT security, legal, data governance, they provided their own sheets, submitted to Second Nature, answers were satisfactory. The work council representative was also involved, not in the beginning, not to the degree that should have been applicable. This is something that I would do differently if I have to do it again, to involve the work council a little bit earlier. Yeah, and
Yeah.
being honest and meeting them regularly. That's super important to build trust.
Yeah.
Also, Charlie, we do have a question in the chat. Do you mind if I take this as well?
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's by Jason. I think it was about my point before. If we have an assigned person to build the simulations, yes, we do. Like, one person is almost full-time creating Second Nature courses, and
Can we give her a shout out, as I know she's on the webinar today and she's amazing.
Yes. Hello, Christine. And that's also very important. She's not just doing Second Nature courses for the sake of Second Nature courses, but she's creating learning experiences that are demanded and needed by the business. And Second Nature is the tool of choice to best deliver those learning experiences. How do we push those out to the learners? We have it integrated in our learning management system, and the processes for HR to book participants is the same as with any other course. And how we ensure that they feel real to the end user. It's about designing it together with the subject matter expert. It's very similar to the traditional e-learning design, but with the AI assistant that Second Nature created, the initial creation phase is much easier and doesn't take much time and much effort anymore. But the testing with the subject matter expert, that takes the majority of time. So the first 80% you get with 20% of the effort, and the last 20% that take up the most effort.
Thanks, Jonas. And Paul, is that the same for you? Do you have somebody, specifically focused on creating role plays? Or like Jonas, is it somebody that's building out all of the training and this is an additional kind of, task that they take on?
We kind of adopted it ourselves initially, but we found that one individual was particularly good at doing it, so they kind of put their hand up naturally without maybe realizing. But we created initially sort of like a template process to kind of help us, and so we continue to follow that process now. Maybe not to get into it too detailed at this moment, but we're also using Copilot 365, and one of my colleagues has actually started to build an agent in there to actually help us to quickly also sort of generate the content that is required to go into second nature as well. So we're also kind of sort of like cheating, I guess, in that aspect, in that we've done that on the side as well, which is an option. But yeah, we don't have one individual who is responsible for it, but we do have one individual who is particularly good at it, and has sort of set the template for it moving forward.
Wonderful. And the same as kind of I asked with Jonas. So, what helped you to reassure your stakeholders that it can be used, responsibly and safely? Was that challenging for you? Was there something specific? Or was it kind of a bit like Jonas, where it was the back and forth of all the documentation?
We kind of skirted around it a little bit for now, in the basically, so what we have is a sign off process for our business. We call them business consultants, for our business consultants, and the stage one sign off of that process still requires an in-person role play. Okay, so we will still do that, and that gives compliance confidence. Obviously, that's still happening, but all of the development and practice leading up for them to perform in that role play assessment, is now significantly helped with second nature, the second nature to role plays. However, we're on our sort of, for example, our fourth induction now. I think we literally got one here this week, the latest lot. And to be honest with you, we can now start going to compliance and saying, hey, look, this is a much more consistent process that you're going to get. You're not going to get, assessors who are maybe a little bit tired one day, not quite on it the next. Maybe they're not doing as good an assessment as they could be. Whereas actually, when we look at the consistency of the role play tool, so we're kind of building up that evidence to now be able to go to our compliance team and say, look, I think you should have more confidence in this than the human assessors at that stage. So that's how we've kind of initially got around it, got it in through the door. We've got people talking very highly about it, lots of positivity. Important senior sales directors are now on board and can apply pressure to compliance teams, etc., stuff like that, which always makes things a little bit easier. So I guess we kind of came in around the back door, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you. And I agree, kind of having those ambassadors internally that are using it and saying we get heaps of value from this, like let's extend the use, is really helpful, in line with the kind of traditional, we need to work through a security process. Okay, Jonas, a question for you. So traditional conversation training, it doesn't scale well, because as much as you say you'd like to have face to face with folks in a room, it's not possible at any volume. So in terms of how AI role play has changed, what's possible in terms of you delivering rich, kind of consistent training across a large organization? I know that you've touched upon this, but really, how far does that actually scale for you?
Yeah, great question. Well, in my opinion, I think AI role play is a complete game changer, and it does something, and it allows us to do something that hasn't been possible to do before. For example, in order to successfully finish a second nature course, a participant must really actively engage with the scenario and must prove to us that they're able to have the professional skills to lead the conversation and fulfill our requirements. And those requirements are sometimes very elaborate and costly if not followed in real life. And I don't say this lightly. We are in a highly regulated environment. We work with very sensitive data of customers, and customer advisors do their best to follow all the rules, but there are a lot of rules and they're not getting less. So giving them the easiest way to practice, not just teach them, but allowing them to practice what they need to do in a scalable manner. That's important. Also, with AI roleplay, there are no shortcuts. And most traditional e-learnings, they do offer huge shortcuts. Like you can skip through chapters without even looking at the screen. You can plan your dinner while doing compliance training. And I assume some of us have even done that, but no judging.
Love that.
It's true. And learning and development departments, they cannot control it. Like you cannot force someone to pay attention and actively engage with content. And we know from cognitive neuroscience that engaging actively with the materials that you want to learn and to study, this is what drives retention. This is what actually facilitates learning. And in a role play setting, you are being recorded, you are being evaluated, and you know that this is happening. But also this is happening in a safe and private environment, which is very important. This is also why compliance checked and had so many questions. And you immediately recognize that you have to deliver. And this is what I personally have observed. So giving someone a second nature course and letting them sit in front of the computer and waiting a little bit, and they're all funny and smiling, and it's interesting. And then the simulation starts, and they are very quiet. They get very tense. They even get a little bit uncomfortable because they know they're being evaluated right now and they have to deliver.
Yes.
And this is challenging, but this is also the zone where people learn. Like relearning experiences aren't easy, and they aren't supposed to be. And that's how we grow. And this is something that I believe we do not talk enough about in learning and development, because if we want to talk about learning, then we need to provide relearning experiences and not provide content in a professional manner. And sometimes that's okay as well. And we haven't solved every problem with AI roleplay, but teaching and allowing to practice in environments where it's really necessary and where there's room to improve, that must be our goal. And if technology can help and facilitate that, let's go.
Paul, sort of coming to you, I think you've spoken about the challenge not being speed, but maintaining performance standards. So as your experience levels actually shift, how did AI roleplay help you to meet that challenge?
Yeah, so a challenge that we have is, whether it's to do with the cost of living here in the UK and the ability for the franchises to pay the salaries that they used to be able to do. What we're seeing is certainly over the 4 years I've been here, and to be honest, this was even back in my time in the recruitment industry as well before this. We're seeing people come in sort of with less and less experience.
Yeah.
And so I think the challenge being is that we still want to continue to hit, or to be able to put these people out into the field, and hit the kind of current performance expectations, but with the challenge that actually a higher percentage of people that are coming through are actually less experienced. And so second nature, and so it even more amplifies the need to develop out those fundamental sales and communication skills. And so second nature has enabled us to really keep up and continue to hit, I guess, that sort of like expectations in terms of skill levels when people come out of induction and go out into the field. So I'd say for us, that's more what it's looking like at the moment, as well as just quite simply, it's providing an opportunity. And I think someone put it in the chat there is, we can actually see through either the scoring that comes out of out of second nature, across for individuals or across whole groups of people, if we're seeing improvements in scores. And so this is a repetitive approach that we're taking. And so we're expecting to see scores improve from initial through to subsequent, etc. So it's providing us with an opportunity to actually see, okay, is the training, the coaching, all of the materials that they're using to develop their knowledge, etc., is this actually working? We can either see that top line wise in some of the reporting that is available in terms of the improvements of the scoring, or through how I'll sort of explain a little bit later, using other AI tools, to give us a summary of what those changes maybe have looked like from initial through to subsequent role play performances. So, yeah, that's how it's helping us to meet those challenges.
And on those insights that you maybe didn't have before, so what has kind of AI role play revealed that you didn't see before, either maybe about your people, about your buyers, or even your own learning assumptions? Okay, you carry on, Paul, because I think
Yeah.
you're
I,
focused there now.
one thing it's really improved that's slightly maybe not was expected, but has been really, really good. As you're going through the process of building these AI role plays, it really challenges maybe the assumptions you have as a learning and development team, but actually even the subject matter experts, on your understanding of your customer. Because maybe whereas, even if you did some sort of like role play assessments, etc., individuals, you can't assess the quality. You don't know whether individuals truly do actually reflect the customer and understand the customer as well as they should do. So in the design of it and working with subject matter experts and practicing with it, it really challenges your assumptions about your understanding of your clients and forces you to go out there, speak to the subject matter experts in the field and check whether these things are true or maybe things are changing. So I'd say an unexpected benefit is the knowledge within the team of our customers has significantly improved, and that then obviously benefits in whether it's to do with the second nature role plays or not, whether it's the training that we're designing or even our interactions with some of our key stakeholders. Sometimes L&D is seen as being a little bit far removed from the front line. I would actually say that's that was maybe something that didn't expect before, but has actually been a benefit of bringing in something like second nature.
Yeah, and I hear that frequently as well when I speak to folks, especially with the AI assistant. We have lots of folks who will upload maybe a more outdated version of their training and then use second nature actually to update it, which is is very cool to hear. Jonas, are you feeling, do you have the same experience?
A similar experience. I want to briefly talk about measuring learning impact, because this is a discussion that we often have and that I have observed, basically that the entire learning and development industry have. And I studied psychology, and I know how difficult it is to exclude variables and measure its impact. So
yeah,
I haven't found a solution to the measuring of the learning impact problem. Instead, I want to focus on designing learning initiatives where the impact is almost guaranteed. So doing my best and controlling the variables I can control. And this is what AI role play does allow. And as I mentioned before, you have to make it necessary to engage actively with the learning content. And this is the point I want to stress. For example, we can see the average scores of participants when they first do a scenario and then compare to their last attempt. So for example, you score from 1 to 100. In the beginning, you are at 62 on average, like hundreds of people have done it, and they're on average on 62, and they fail, which is good, because then if they wouldn't have failed, it would have been too easy. And if they do it the last time, on average, they are on 85, which suffices to finish the course. So we actually see a learning impact here. We see that they have failed in the beginning and that they are able to do it right now. And they know why they failed, and eventually they know why they succeeded. So we can get rid of the conversation of measuring the learning impact, because we have just done it and we are continue doing so.
Yeah, that's great insights. I think touching, kind of expanding on that. So beyond formal training programs, where are you seeing AI role play make a difference in kind of everyday coaching, preparation, confidence building? Is it leading into, other areas where you find that people might be more, confident in? I think, Paul, you obviously touched upon, knowing your subject is really important. What are you finding in terms of confidence in people speaking in general across the board? Does it make a difference for you? Paul, let's start with you.
Okay, so we are an innovative company. We do things differently. Okay, and that has really worked for us.
Yeah.
But one person's innovation is another person's complexity, and so we are complicated. And alongside obviously developing the consultative skills of our salespeople, it's really challenging their understanding on the product knowledge as well. So because it's all good being able to, I don't know, complete a multiple choice assessment, for example, or maybe answer questions correctly in a safe, quiet, locked away, being able to think about your answer to things. And as you can imagine, there's so many benefits, amounts, and percentages, etc., and stuff like that about our products. But actually, it doesn't replicate real life when you are, how these things are tested. They are generally tested in a conversation. And so it's also, really testing people's ability to recall the right product information as well. And, we can, we that's probably something else that, is definitely, has definitely helped as well. Just another thing as well is we will also, we would always try to provide feedback. We will always provide feedback to the directors of these salespeople on their performance, during the training and also during any role plays. And this approach obviously now enables us to provide a much more, I guess, formal, robust feedback to these directors that they can go in, they can access, they can see, and they can then go take forward out into the field and sort of ensure that these people are displaying those things out in the field as well. So I think our relationship with their directors has improved as well.
Jonas, how about for you? Is it a similar experience?
Actually, not to a very large degree, because our main use cases were formal training in the first year. Like, we are a bank. Our first training that we rolled out was a very hard compliance training, which actually solved a huge business challenge. And then we followed up with some more general sales training. But we're working on a training library right now, which will be open and accessible to every customer advisor throughout the year. And what I expect is a small group of highly motivated people to use it extensively, to become like power users, to prepare for difficult conversations and to really master their skills and accelerate their career. And I think AI in general is a chance for young professionals to go on a fast track to master skills and to become even more professional, even faster. And we also have to be honest about that fact, because those are the high performers that use every tool and every chance they can get their hand on to improve. And those are the 20% that make 80% of the revenue. So we do not solely design the training programs for them, but I feel like that this is something that, especially for those, are a very powerful tool. So I think this is a nice side effect, that it actually is something for power users, because a power user wouldn't do articulate 360 course again and again and read the same information again and again, but they may practice the most difficult conversation in second nature again and again and try different approaches and try to sell different products, because perhaps the customer does not only want this product, but that you can cross-sell, and so you can test and try approaches and challenge yourself with your peers. Perhaps your peer sits next to you and you try to sell those customers as much as possible, or provide the best solutions as possible.
And we find that a lot in both pilots that we have and customers that I speak to every day is that sometimes it's surprising because it identifies kind of a power user, somebody who wants to learn, wants to move forward quickly. And that's great insights to have. Who are these people that want to jump on and, test themselves again and again and again? And I often will hear feedback that for folks, it doesn't matter the score that you get at the start. Like you say, it doesn't matter if you fail, that's the whole purpose. We have a great data report that how long does it take you to get from your first attempt to your best attempt? And I think that's, very insightful. And it's also really great for benchmarking. Like, where is everyone currently? What kind of training do we even need to be delivering here? Kind of, do they understand the product? Can they do technical demos? Is it quick fire questions? So it's really good for benchmarking as well. And for me, that's some of the, the insights that I love. Let's talk about the L&D kind of, academy function within the organization. So has adopting this changed how you are perceived internally? So are you seen as maybe more credible, innovative, more strategic across the organization for you as a team and you personally?
There's the reality of, I think initially, maybe it's met with some healthy skepticism initially. It's because, look, we're in learning and development. How many new shiny tools have come along? I've been in L&D for 15 years, and every couple of years there's the new shiny bit of technology. And so rightly, I think, especially in a sales organization, I'd imagine the sales directors and managers are rolling their eyes a little bit, thinking, okay, what's the latest thing that they've got for us?
Yeah.
So that's the reality, I would say. But it's mixed in with I'm lucky our business have said about 6 months ago, we really want to adopt AI and take the initiative. But being honest with you, we're at a business where we're like, we don't know what that looks like, so let's just go for it. So we are working it out. But when things change, are quite simply, the interactions between the people that are using it and their managers and their directors and things like that. And slowly the word gets around that those maybe something that was seen as maybe being, a little bit novel actually seems to be getting a positive response, from those people. And so that's an important moment. But also as well, I would say the reporting that we're able to provide from it now, so the feedback that we're offering is now much richer to directors on individuals, etc., stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that's a critical moment. And also as well, I think this is maybe a wider thing, is second nature is part of a wider AI strategy that we're building in the team, and we're learning on the go. And I've just started to notice that individuals in separate teams are actually thinking, wow, actually, this sounds quite good, and second nature forms an important element of that, so with Copilot 365 and agents and things. So I think, that's I think over time, over the last 4 or 5 months of using it, slowly the credibility is coming, and that healthy level of skepticism is being rewarded.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Jonas, what about for you? I know we only have a few minutes left, so but I'd love to hear how it's kind of helped to amplify maybe you or your amazing team.
Yeah, to answer this quickly, well, the reputation of my team and of the academy as a whole in the organization increased a lot. Also, within Austria, in the learning and development banking industry, it's a small industry, but we are definitely recognized. We even won a very prestigious award, which made us super happy. And yeah, it's great. And I also think that with the adopting of second nature, we added to the level of AI readiness of the entire organization, because now there is one AI tool that has been adopted by everyone and is widely accepted. And I believe that this adds much more to the level of AI readiness than another e-learning that teaches AI skills. So that's super cool.
Yes, and congrats on the award. Very, very cool as well. Let's jump to the last question. So let's talk about what the future looks like and where it fits. Your company's AI strategy, I know you've touched upon this a little bit, where it's kind of rolling out across numerous areas. But where do you see AI having the biggest impact on training? And where do you see it playing alongside broader AI tools? Because I know that we're all starting to use more and more AI tools. So let's come to you first, Paul.
Yeah, we're trying to shift now and to a message to our delegates that we're also going to train them on how to use these tools to develop themselves. So we always like to talk about taking accountability, taking ownership for your learning, but I
Yeah,
guess that's only ever really been able to go so far, in terms of, make sure you do your extra work, do your reading, speak to BCs, FDs, get out there as much as possible. But in terms of the critical thing of, you have a tool now where you can go and practice, and we've set up all of these scenarios, and it's there for you to take accountability and you to
yeah,
learn. And so it's getting that out wider and wider to the business that they have actually a really good solution now to be able to do that.
yeah,
So that's one thing, and then we are also trying to, we're teaching them on how to use Copilot 365, and we're building them a sales coach. So not only can they use the feedback from Second Nature, but we're getting them to then download that, put it into our sales agent, which has been built with everything about vitality in mind and how we should be, how we should be selling, and teaching them to use that in combination. So we're very
wonderful.
much trying to teach people that, we've always said about wanting to decentralize learning and development. Well, it
Yes.
actually feels now, for the first time, we're kind of getting the tools that could actually enable us to properly do that. And I'm very happy, after working, 10 years in this industry, that it just seems like this is now the right tool to
Yeah.
enable us to effectively do that. So.
Fantastic. Jonas, let's end with you. Your thoughts on, what's coming next. Obviously, I've had a good in-depth conversation with you, and I know you've got some very exciting plans. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So Christine is working on a large training library, which will cover the most important topics that we could come up with. And also, she is in contact with the sales management team to align with strategic sales initiatives. And we have most companies do have like a sales calendar with seasonal initiatives. So we want to align our rollouts with those initiatives. So that's super cool. We also plan to roll out more compliance training, and I know this is not very sexy, but it's super important, and it actually solves real business challenges. So this is also coming, and we want to focus on leadership training, because this is also very important. We do have a first draft on a course about coaching skills, because imagine in an AI role play, coaching your colleagues on difficult job or life situations. And this might sound weird, but it actually works. And I tried scenarios with difficult avatars that I am probably never going to engage with in real life, but I've went through the motions. I've tried it. I had to control my emotions and my temper and find the right words, and it was super realistic. So we
Great.
want to offer this for the largest amount of people.
Great. And yeah, happy to share that coaching is huge on the roadmap, but more to come in the coming weeks when we share that more broadly. So really great to hear that that's your direction. I know we're a couple of minutes over. So Paul and Jonas, I'll say, I'm very, very grateful. I always think that these webinars are much more valuable than just sitting on a product demo, because it's sharing your real experience. And thanks so much for your transparency and the time you've invested in the prep for this again. I'm very lucky because I get to continue working with you. To everybody that joined us today, thanks so much for your time. We've had heaps of questions, so we will come back to all of those from myself and my colleagues. But yeah, thanks so much. It was very, very insightful. I'm glad that your experience has been positive, and yeah, we look forward to walking a successful path with you through the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks so much. Take care now.